Go outside for a second. Seriously. Walk around your car slowly and really look at it. You see that dent? Yeah, that one. Maybe somebody slammed their door into you in a parking lot. Maybe a shopping cart rolled straight into the side panel. Maybe someone backed up without looking. Maybe it was you. Doesn't really matter anymore. What matters is that every single time you walk toward your car, your eyes go straight to it. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. You wash the car, and there it is. You park under good lighting, and suddenly it looks even worse. It's crazy how one small dent can make an otherwise clean car feel old, neglected, or cheap. Most people immediately assume they need a body shop. They think it's going to cost hundreds of dollars, take several days, and involve repainting half the vehicle. But here's the thing almost nobody talks about. A lot of small dents can actually be fixed at home. Not with expensive equipment. Not with some magical internet gadget. Just with a little understanding of how metal works. And honestly, the idea behind it is incredibly simple. German engineers have been using versions of this principle for years in manufacturing and automotive work. Think about German cars for a second: BMW, Porsche, Mercedes, Audi. Those companies are obsessed with precision. Every curve, every panel, every alignment point is engineered carefully. When a small dent or surface imperfection appears during production, they don't automatically throw away the panel or repaint the entire thing. In many cases, they manipulate the metal itself back into position using temperature and pressure. That's the important part. Metal expands when heated. Metal contracts when cooled. If you control those two reactions correctly, the panel naturally wants to return closer to its original shape. And once you understand that, fixing a small dent suddenly stops feeling impossible. Now obviously, I'm not talking about major collision damage. If your paint is cracked, if the metal is folded sharply, or if part of the panel is torn, that's different. That's professional repair territory. But for those annoying little dents? The shallow ones that didn't break the paint? You'd be surprised how often this works. The easiest method starts with heat. All you really need is a hairdryer and something cold. That's it. Turn the hairdryer on and warm up the dented area for around 30 or 40 seconds. You don't need to melt anything. You're not trying to cook the paint. Just get the metal warm enough that it becomes slightly more flexible. Then immediately cool the center of the dent. Some people use an ice pack. Some use compressed air turned upside down because it creates a freezing spray effect. Either works. And sometimes, not always, but surprisingly often, you'll actually hear a little pop. That's the metal snapping back toward its original form because of the rapid contraction. It feels fake the first time you see it happen. Like one of those internet tricks that shouldn't work but somehow does. And the reason it works isn't magic. It's thermal shock. The heat expands the panel slightly, the sudden cold contracts it rapidly, and the tension helps release the dent. That's it. No repainting. No filler. No sanding. Now if the dent is a little larger or deeper, heat alone might not be enough. That's where suction comes in. And honestly, this part is funny because people overcomplicate it way too much. You don't necessarily need a professional dent pulling system. Sometimes a simple plunger works. Literally a household plunger. You clean the area first so dirt doesn't scratch the paint, wet the rim slightly so it seals better, press it over the dent, and pull. That suction creates outward pressure against the panel. Sometimes it takes a few attempts. Sometimes you need to reposition it. But for broader dents, especially on doors or side panels, it can actually pull the metal outward surprisingly well. Professional dent repair shops use specialized suction tools that cost thousands of dollars. But the principle is exactly the same. Pressure. That's all it is. And honestly, the best results usually happen when you combine both methods together. Heat the panel first so the metal relaxes a little. Then apply suction while it's still warm. That combination gives the metal flexibility while also physically encouraging it back into shape.
It's like convincing the panel to remember where it originally belonged.
Sometimes the dent comes out immediately.
Sometimes it improves gradually over 2 or 3 attempts.
Even reducing a dent by 80% can completely change how the car looks. But there are a few things you absolutely should not do. First, don't pour boiling water all over your car.
People online love suggesting this because it looks dramatic in videos, but boiling water can damage paint, plastic trim, seals, and certain finishes.
Warm controlled heat is enough. A hairdryer is safer.
Second, don't try this on cracked paint.
If the paint surface is broken, the situation changes completely because now moisture can get underneath the paint layer and create bigger problems later. If you see chips, fractures, or exposed metal, stop there and consider professional repair. And third, don't force anything. This is where people make mistakes.
If the dent refuses to move after several careful attempts, there's probably a reason.
Some dents are located on reinforced sections of the panel.
Some have stretched the metal too much.
Some simply require proper tools.
Trying to overpower the panel usually creates more damage.
Patience works better than aggression here. But honestly, the bigger point isn't even about the dent itself. It's about realizing that a lot of problems feel more expensive and intimidating than they actually are. Most people have been trained to believe every small issue requires an expert, a payment, an appointment, and specialized equipment. Sometimes that's true. But sometimes you just need basic understanding. That's what good engineering really is.
Understanding how something behaves and using that knowledge intelligently.
You don't need to be a mechanic to learn this stuff.
You don't need a garage full of expensive tools. You just need curiosity, patience, and the willingness to try something yourself before immediately handing your wallet to somebody else.
And honestly, there's something satisfying about fixing your own car with simple tools sitting in your house already. You stop looking at the dent. You start looking at the solution. And that changes everything.